What crime did you commit?
The accidental killing of a person, sir.
He brutally murdered a woman, sir, in furtherance of theft. 14 years, sir!
Excellent. He's enterprising, aggressive, outgoing, young, bold, vicious. He'll do.
Well, fine. We could still look at C-Block.
No, that's enough. He's perfect. I want his record sent to me. This vicious young hoodlum will be transformed out of all recognition.
Thank you very much for this chance, sir.
Let's hope you make the most of it, my boy.
Hello, this is SpongeBob SquarePants. Welcome to a podcast orange. Joining me as always is my co-host, the very sexy Jack Siegel.
Hey, SpongeBob, congratulations on coming out of the closet. We're all very happy for you.
Yeah, it's been great, because it's like now I can suck Patrick off in public and not feel like I'm being judged.
Well, I think people will still judge you. That is a crime. I don't think you can...
Patrick is such a bear. He's a bear. I'm a twink. He's a bear. That's the way it is. Because, that we're basically, yes, I came out of the closet, but Nickelodeon forgot to mention that I'm a complete stereotype still.
Yeah, they're not as progressive as they want to think they are.
Could you imagine if from now on they started making episodes of SpongeBob where it was just like that, like he was just an insanely stereotypical gay guy and it was actually offensive? Like people were like, what the fuck is this? Like,
hello, Squidward. How are you?
Hello, Squidward. Can I suck your dick today? SpongeBob, you know I don't have a cock.
That's my nose, you fuck.
Let's get Japanese with it and use your tentacles. That's disgusting.
SpongeBob, that's not a penis, that's a clarinet.
And also, I don't know if you've read the Bible.
Meanwhile, Patrick's just shoving plankton up his asshole to get a nice...
Patrick's just like, oh god. Plankton's just literally suffocating.
Are you sure the Krabby Patty formula is in your asshole, Patrick? Yep, it's there.
Like, you really expect me to look inside of your asshole? If the formula's up there, why don't you just take it out? Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way, sweet cheeks. Patrick's just like a gay rapist. It doesn't work that way, Snuggles.
Patrick's a predatory gay man.
He has like the long eyelashes from that one scene where he like imagines the laugh. He just has those now.
Rectangles.
Rectangles.
Mr. Krab's like, I don't care. We'll make Krusty Krab we'll make the Krusty Krab Pride Month and celebrate.
No, Mr. Krab is definitely a homophobe. He's definitely just like wait, the Supreme Court decided what now? What
I thought Neil Gorsuch was on our side of this.
I'm not going to have homosexuals working for me. I like money. Squidward's just like, I couldn't agree more, sir.
I think Squidward would be a self-loathing gay man.
Yeah, he's like one of those closeted like this is, but by the way, this is all Nickelodeon's interpretation. We're just going off what they're planning to make the next season of SpongeBob. They're not the
bigots.
Yeah, it's not us, but Squidward's just like one of those closeted gay guys that just hates himself for being gay. He's like, SpongeBob, stop going to that gay bar. It looks kind of nice.
I like women. Reminds me of this guy I used to know in college who was like secretly gay, and we all kind of knew, but he was very insecure about it. So he would just like make fun of other gay people. He'd be like, can you believe those two guys? They were such homos. Oh yeah, really? Like, oh yeah, totally.
That's honestly upsetting to me because it's like you hear that you kind of want to just be like, dude, like, relax. Like we all know, like it's okay. There's one kid, and I didn't know this kid that well, but like I always knew this dude was gay. And like, but then one day he started like coming out to people, and pretty much every single person, like in school, basically, like it was like right senior year towards the end, and he's just going up to people, and it was like a big thing. And he's like, I just have to tell you something about me. You might be kind of surprised. And everyone just like tapping their foot, like, all right, here it is, I guess. Like, and he's like, I'm gay. And I swear to God, every person I know who talked to him about it was like, dude, I've always known. Like, I've literally always known, and I've never cared. Like,
It's funny because they'll be like, well, why didn't you tell me? It's like, why don't I tell you that you were gay? Like, what do
yeah,
you?
I'd be like, yo, I love you, Ray, but you're totally a. Like, is that what you want? Like, no, of course not. But anyway, getting back to gay
It would be funny if
SpongeBob.
that guy was about to tell you like, I'm gay, and then like everybody expects him to say that, but then he just says like, I'm getting a haircut, and be like, we
Yeah,
all
right. Like, we're all so hyped. We're like, he's about to do it, and then he's
finally.
like, I just wanted to tell everybody I'm joining the military, and it's like, what?
Oh,
That's not
what?
what I expected.
Yeah, like that was a huge letdown.
I mean, that might still make you gay, but that's not what I expected.
Yeah. They love holding long, penis-shaped guns, so I mean, it does
Yeah,
make.
and they do
I,
pull-ups together, and they watch each other sweat.
honestly, one of my favorite bits of all time is when Greg Giraldo says he's just like, "I wish I was gay, because then you wouldn't have to deal with women and their bullshit."
Yeah, right. He's like, yeah, the bit is he literally goes like, he's like, of course nobody chose to be gay. They just happen to be attracted to women. It's like men. It's like me. I didn't choose to be attracted to women. I just happen to be attracted to women. It sucks. So
It's like
fucking
one of the most
funny.
true fucking. Greg Giraldo
Yeah.
is probably one of my, if not my favorite comedian ever.
No,
'Cause
he's always been my number one. Rest in peace, Greg
yeah,
Giraldo. He's been my number one favorite comic for pretty much
it's
at
just
least the
everything he
past like
says.
10 years.
Well, everything he says was just so fucking true, and like, yeah, no, I totally relate to that because like it's just a headache being
I
like
think
being
if he was
straight.
around, I think if he was around right now,
Oh
like
my god,
he
that
would
would
be
be
so
amazing.
good. Like he'd be amazing because nobody was smarter than him. He could just cut
Yeah.
straight to the marrow of any issue at like lightning speed. And like there's really not any comedian these days that has that talent anymore. Comedians make topical jokes, but it just doesn't hit the way his shit did.
Well, yeah, he had that rocket fire fucking that rapid fire like it was like bullet comedy. It was just like
Exactly.
but like his prominence was like in the mid 2000s when America was going through like a really ugly America phase, like not as
Yeah.
bad as what's going through right now. Like he was able to dissect that and how we're all just becoming like stupid fucking
I mean,
assholes.
he has that one joke, like, to this day, it's still just, like, a perfect, like, joke because it's still relevant, like, he's just like, "Everyone says Americans need to care more about the environment. Everyone says Americans need to drive smaller cars. We can't drive smaller cars because we have big fat kids."
Yeah,
It's like, you
and
try shoving one of these overgrown 4-year-olds into a fucking, like,
Funyuns
Prius.
and their Cheetos and their fucking Game Boys. It's
And
weird
he,
how much Tom sounds like Greg Giraldo. Like he has the same voice almost.
well, I mean, it's essentially like he was essentially just a drug addict who probably smoked a lot too. So that's minus the hard drugs. I pretty much have the lifestyle. I drink all the time and smoke a shit ton of weed. So,
Both.
but that's the thing about I think comedians like him. Like, and I think what like about a lot of great performers is like obviously you should not do drugs just to become a great performer. But sometimes some of the greatest performers are the people who are the most tormented by that type of shit.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
sometimes
because
the
like
worst.
it's because the performing is another high in a way. It's literally
Exactly.
because it's another high. So they have to do it perfectly every time. Otherwise they don't get the high. It's like doing heroin. Like
No,
if
I agree.
you
When
fuck
you
up.
do when you kill on stage, it really is like a natural high. Like your body, it honestly is better than any high I've ever felt when you are in a room full of people and you're making them not just laugh but like howl with laughter to the point where they're literally just falling over in their seats. That is honestly the greatest feeling. I That's like better than sex, better than drugs, better than anything, and you
Exactly.
are constantly chasing that feeling every time you go on
It's an
stage.
amazing feeling, and neither Jack nor I as comedians have ever experienced that. But we can imagine it's amazing. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, we've both had our good shows and our bad shows. But like, yeah, when you
We're
have
the
an
greatest
amazing set,
comedians on Long Island, I think.
I would definitely put us at like the number 1 and 2 spot if I do say so
I mean,
myself.
Tom, we're definitely more funny than Chris D'Elia.
I either way, like even if I was totally not funny, I'm still a better comedian just by virtue of the fact that I don't try to hook up with underage chicks.
Yeah, even if we're
Like it
not as
doesn't matter
funny.
what your job is. if you hook up with underage chicks on the side, like, I consider you bad at that job. I know it doesn't make sense, but I just do. Like,
It's just
you're
like
bad if like, you could be the world's greatest plumber, but if you fuck 15-year-olds, I still consider you a bad plumber. Like, I
I
don't
would give
care if
you
you're
like a three stars on Yelp. Like, listen,
literally
you did a great job, but I'm minusing 2 stars because you fucked my underage daughter, and that was totally not cool. I did not expect that. I
It's
did not want that at all.
It's like this. It's like a review on Yelp. It's like the contracting job was great. He did the extension on my house perfectly. The insulation is done great. It looks great. It's totally natural looking. But I have to dock 3 stars because he tried to rape my 12-year-old daughter. So I mean, the job was great. It was a perfect job. He did the job really well. But I mean, he tried to rape my daughter. Like I can't give him a 5-star review just based on that. And
You
I
just
would
put it
not
like
recommend even though he did his service perfectly, I would not recommend his service to anybody. I have to be honest. I have to be very. I would.
he'll try to service your kids, and you just write that without any like exclamation points, just very casually. Like he tried to rape my kids, and
Yeah, it's just like
yeah.
one guy gives like a 5-star review, and he's like, "It was great. He raped my kid." It's
And
just
then like
some other pedophile.
frowny face emoji, like not even like
Yeah, one guy's just like, "Bro, why?" Like, one dude's just like, "Why you got to do that to my boy?" And then like a teary face. It's like a
honestly,
1-star review.
honestly, this whole Crystalia situation, you have to sit back and you have to reflect and you have to ask the question, Tom. And that question is, what is it about 15 and 16-year-old girls that is just so attractive?
Well, I mean, it's their. I mean, obviously, it's their tight little innocent, untouched vaginas. No, but I mean, really, I think that's what it is. Like, if I'm going to be honest, I think pedophiles have this sick obsession with being like, it's like this weird sexual fetish of being a predator. Like, it's the same thing with anybody who rapes, but like, if you're a pedophile, especially, it's like you're like you have this fetish with the idea that you're like you prey on these innocent children and they just become your victims. And that's why I think that I personally think all pedophiles should kill themselves. Not like just because like it'd be better for them. You're never gonna fix it. Like you're not
I
gonna.
don't know
There's no
about
amount of.
that. I disagree. I mean there are
You're like I
programs.
personally was a pedophile for about 10 years and I got over it.
No, there are like programs though, that like that what's it called? There are like what are they called? Non-offending pedophiles.
Well, yeah. I mean,
They
if you
go
can
and
live your life and
Yeah, but
not hurt
they
anyone,
go and talk to like psychiatrists, and like they just try not to fucking they just are like we don't fuck
yeah.
kids, and
But
they're like heavily medicated. It's a shitty life. I honestly, and this
that's
is
what I'm
like
saying.
might
It's
sound
like
pretty like fucked up. I kind of in a way almost feel sorry for them because it's kind of like nobody chooses to be a pedophile. You know
Well,
what I
that's the
mean?
thing of what I'm saying is like, yeah, you could try to live that life where you just go to therapy and learn to control yourself, but deep down, you're always going to want to fuck kids. Like, I just don't believe that goes away. Like, you can't turn off somebody's sexual fetish. Like, if somebody has a foot fetish, like, unless you convince him to turn to God and he spends all of his time praying instead of thinking about jerking off to feet, like, you're not going to make him not like feet.
Yeah,
And it's the same thing for being gay. Like no amount of therapy or religion would make somebody not gay, and no amount of like therapy of religion is going to make me not like ass, and no
you
amount of
can
therapy
try to live your life. I mean, like I just feel like not like
you can live
and
your
obviously
life, but
I'm not saying I have sympathy
is it
for
worth it though?
I
All I'm saying.
I'm not saying I
I'm
have sympathy for those people, but I actually am saying that because I feel like, listen, at the end of the day, nobody has a choice of how they feel. You have a choice of whether you can act on your
Yeah,
actions, but
that's
you
what I'm
don't have a
saying.
choice of like your fucking demons. I mean, pedophiles are looked at as like just the dreck of society, right? So I
They
mean, like
are.
nobody would fucking yeah. So like nobody would choose to be
What
that.
I'm saying is this though, like if I learned, like if I realized one day that I was attracted to kids, I would just kill myself to prevent the danger of me fucking a kid ever happening.
Yeah, but you
I
say
would
that
literally kill
now.
myself. I mean, I say that now because I'm lucky to not be a pedophile, I guess. But like, I mean, I don't know if that's look at the draw.
Not that
it's like,
there's
dude,
anything
I
wrong with
mean,
it. Yeah.
you and I got lucky. Look at 90% of society. No, but I'm just saying personally, I guess if I learned that I was attracted to kids, I would probably just kill myself. Maybe not, maybe that's not the way for everybody, but like, I don't know. It's just like, do you really want to live your whole life never getting to experience the sexual pleasure you want? Or do you want to just like kill yourself and like not deal with it, and then you're gone,
yeah,
and there's
but
less
like
pedophiles?
life is so full of possibilities. What if you're a pedophile, right? And you finally fuck a woman and you have like an adult woman and you just have that nice there's nothing better than just a nice warm box around your Johnson and just
No,
feeling
it's too big, bro. She's too big.
you're just fucking it. But what if you find like the
Bro,
perfect
how wide
pussy?
is this pussy? How wide is this fucking
What if it's the
pussy?
perfect pussy and you come into it and now you're convert because you had the perfect pussy? Life
What
is
am I
full of
coming into?
possibilities.
A well? What am I? It's a well I'm coming into. How old are you, baby? 19? Jesus Christ, you old bitch. What is this, a
19.
well?
Well, what's it called? So Chris D'Elia, though,
All right, yeah,
regardless,
let's get to that.
regardless,
Let's yeah.
bottom line is you shouldn't be a pedophile, and I
Yeah,
don't care who
shouldn't.
knows it. That's a podcast Orange's philosophy. You should try not to be a pedophile.
Yeah. It's like honestly, I think they should take In God We Trust off the dollar bill and just write you shouldn't be a
You
pedophile.
shouldn't be a pedophile.
Just on the dollar
Just
bill.
don't do it. If you have the temptation, just don't be a pedophile. Just don't
Or
do
just
it.
kill
Man.
yourself. Or
Yeah.
just start doing heroin, and then you'll like heroin more than being a pedophile. Then you can go to rehab for heroin, and then maybe while you're there, you can get some help with the pedophile stuff too.
Either
You'll be
way,
good.
just don't do it. And Chris D'Elia also, and don't do comedy because you're not funny.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like everyone's mad at him for potentially, allegedly talking to underage girls. But I've been mad at him just for being a comedian since I knew he was a comedian.
I don't find him
Crystalia,
funny. He
like
sucks.
I don't want to mince words. Crystalia sucks. That's also a podcast Orange philosophy. Crystalia
Chris D'Elia sucks. We hate him. A
He's a piece
podcast
of shit.
Orange fucking hates him. Almost. Wait, do we hate Chris D'Elia as much as we hate Sublime or more?
Well, I think it's a different type of hatred because I just hate Crystalia as a comic, but I also hate Sublime as what they represent culturally.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
Chris
just
D'Elia has no
white
cultural
boy,
representation.
just like white boy stoner reggae. Like
Yeah.
Sublime might as well be called. They might as well just be a cultural appropriation. The band, like that's all they are.
Sublime is just surfer hippie douchebags.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
but-
if you listen to Sublime, I personally believe that you're definitely guilty of all the accusations that Crystalia has.
I think Chris D'Elia listens to Sublime.
He probably does. I can totally see that. Like you hang out with him backstage after a show once. He's like, "Yo, you want to smoke a blunt?" And you're like, "Yeah, I guess I'm down." You're like a kind of famous guy, and then he just like puts on Santeria, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. And listen, I know that there are people that listen to this podcast that like Sublime, and I still love you guys. I have many close friends that listen to Sublime, and I love you, but Sublime sucks. Sorry, they're just terrible.
Yeah. Sublime sucks, and Crystalia sucks too. But
and it's weird that Chris D'Elia, like I know everybody's brought up this point, but I just have to bring it up because I was obsessed with the show You on Netflix for a while. Like I binged the shit out. I love that show, and he was in that show in season 2. And not only does he play a pedophile, but in the show he plays a comedian who is secretly a pedophile. Like, what the fuck?
It's so funny, honestly.
Like
it's kind of like, I mean, it's almost like if it's like if before O.J. Simpson killed his wife, he played a part in a movie where he plays a guy that kills his wife. That's kind of what it's like.
Well, O.J. Simpson almost was. They thought of him. He auditioned to be the Terminator, but James Cameron thought that he wouldn't be a convincing enough murderer. That's a real story.
I mean, I feel like the truth is James Cameron is just like probably just backstage. Like, I don't know. Do we really want to go with the black guy? Like, I feel like that's what it is.
He gets the kind of a murderous vibe too. Like,
he totally made that up. Like, I could totally see OJ as a murderer. Maybe that's because I've always known him as a murderer. But I mean, he totally made that up. He's like, I just couldn't see him as a murderer. Nah, he was definitely just like, yeah, probably not the black dude.
Let's go with the guy who barely speaks English correctly.
Yeah, let's go with the dude who nobody can understand. That's a pretty convincing robot.
Chris
D'Elia. So Arnold, do you want to do the first line? But Holland. That was perfect. That's exactly what I wanted.
The screenwriter's like, dude, what the fuck? It's like, no, trust me, it'll work out fine. This guy's gonna be a movie star. He's gonna be
Get
a movie
to,
star. Nobody can understand him. I
I
know,
get
but
to fuck
don't
underage
worry.
girls. Do I get to fuck young girls like Crystalia? Justin Bieber is a big fan of Crystalia.
Yeah, that's how you know
That,
Chris D'Elia sucks at comedy. Is that he's Justin Bieber's favorite comedian?
well, I mean, because that's the thing. The reason Crystalia even has a career is, and we'll get into the accusations, don't worry, but like the reason Chris D'Elia even has a career is because he was lucky enough to get on the fucking Justin Bieber roast, and like that was a huge roast, whether you like it or hate it. It was a huge roast, like everybody watched it, and he had a pretty good set. And then Justin Bieber did that one joke where he's like, "I'm a big fan of Chris D'Elia. Chris D'Elia gets a lot of girls. You know why? Because I'm a big fan of Chris D'Elia." And then Chris D'Elia stood up and he's like, "Yes, that's right." And then kind of did like a wink. And I watched it recently after hearing the accusations, and I'm kind of like, wow, this did not age well.
Well, it's also like he. I feel like the same type of girls that would be into Justin Bieber would like Chris D'Elia. See, Chris D'Elia reminds me of Dane Cook a lot, like his type of
Yeah.
comedy and like the people, like his.
He's like a
Except
huge
there are
fan.
Dane Cook jokes where I actually still like enjoy, and Dane Cook I don't think fucks underage girls.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure, not confirmed, but but Dane Cook. I think the difference is Dane Cook still has the writing going for him. Like, you say what you want about the man, but he has great comedy material that he's written.
Yeah.
Like, and it's really good. But like, Chris D'Elia just kind of does voices
Oh,
and
they
then sort of
suck.
repeats. Like, he just does these shitty voices. They're all annoying and generic. Like, he does this drunk girl. It's literally every single any person
Yeah.
who's ever impersonated a drunk girl. That's what Chris D'Elia's drunk girl sounds like. She's like, I'm drunk. It's like, wow, you're so talented. I never heard a fucking drunk girl that sounds like that. Like,
Oh yeah,
just,
that was the
he's
one
so,
bit
he's
I've
voice,
seen of his.
yeah, like his voices are annoying. Like and on top of that, his material is just not original. Like
No,
he does a lot of jokes
it's
where
all douchey bro humor. I've seen like his. It's like college bro humor. I've seen his fucking stand up, and even I remember at that roast. I didn't know who he was back then, but I saw that roast, and Jeff Ross goes on stage, and he says something like Chris D'Elia's stand up is just the worst thing ever. So I thought like I gotta see this now. Like I wonder if it's as bad as this guy claims. And it wasn't. It was worse. I was just like, this fucking sucks.
yeah, you're like this isn't even ironically bad. This is like
No,
upsettingly bad.
it reminded me of like no, it's not as bad. I don't know. I think it's even worse than like Gabriel Iglesias. But Gabriel Iglesias is at least he's like made for like 10-year-olds, whereas
Gabriel Iglesias is funny. I've laughed at his shit. I mean, I think Gabriel Iglesias has much better talent for like maybe not voices, but he has this really what he's great at is like sound effects.
yeah,
Like I
no, he
always
does sound effects. It's just
yeah.
not my cup of tea personally.
I get that, but I always remember this one bit where he was talking about like him and his buddy were like at like Six Flags or something, and they pulled up their shirts going down the ride and like to show their tits to like the camera, and then like an employee got mad at him, and he did like the sound effect of them trying to like run away kind of fast, but they're like barefoot at like a water park. So he does this like if and he does it so perfectly that it made me laugh really hard when I first saw it. Like that's what
he does good sound effects.
he's not
And
that great.
listen, I
He's
like
like
different types of comics. Like I'm not all about. I don't. A comic doesn't need to be like a rock and roll comic. I like clean comics. I like different type. I like comics that are like
Jack measures the decency of every comic based on how similar they are to Louis C.K. He has a scale. It's just like, all right, it's like he's like an 8.5 similarity. Pretty good comedian.
not as good. No, I was watching the other day. I was watching one of Jim Gaffigan's stand up, and Jim Gaffigan does clean shit about food, and he's fucking hilarious. Like a comic
Jim
doesn't
is
have to be dirty and vulgar, but
They have
he's
to be a good writer.
Yeah.
To me that's what makes a good comedian. But regardless, we could shit
is
on
either one of those things.
Yeah, Chris D'Elia is neither a good comedian nor a good performer. We could shit on him all day. Yeah, we could shit on him all day. But the more important thing is how he tries to fuck young girls. I mean, I don't know. This is a complicated one.
But
Like-
is it? I mean,
Not really. I mean, like, what I've taken away from this is that whether he's actively, knowingly tried to hook up with underage girls or not is still currently, like, up for, like, discussion. But what this has shown is that even if he didn't try to hook up with any underage girls, he's still a huge fucking creep.
well, the thing about it is, and listen, I'm not. Everybody that knows me and Tom knows we're not one of these people that likes to jump all over a bandwagon of like, let's bash this person, like let's kick a horse while it's down, like the cancel culture people and all that shit. I look at every situation as its own unique thing, and I'm like, all right, let's see all the evidence, and let's see everything that there is before we come to determination. And so I looked at all this shit, and I just feel like you have all these girls that are sending in their text messages between them and Crystalia. And like somebody say, well, you can make up text messages. I'm like, yeah, but that sounds kind of conspiratorial. I just feel like at this point, it just feels like, yeah, whether he knew they were underage or not, but like, I don't
Well, I
know,
mean,
man.
because the thing is also, like, as an adult, it kind of is your job to make that judgment. Like, if you're trying to hook up with a girl who's younger, like, if it's actually, like, she looks young enough to where it's questionable, you should probably just not. Like, honestly, like, I think that's really the best way to avoid this shit. Is like my personal rule is I only hit on girls with crow's feet. Like, you gotta have some wrinkles, baby. I'm sorry. Like,
You have to be a
I'm
little
telling
cynical. See, I like younger women to like have sex with. When I'm dating a girl, I like her. She needs to be at least 23
even the
because
fuck, like, I don't really want to fuck a 19-year-old anymore. It's just kind of weird. It's like you're not even old enough to drink. Why am I fucking you? It just feels weird. Like,
yeah, and people might think I'm a creep. I still fuck 19 and 18 year
I
olds.
mean, the difference with you is you didn't even start jerking off until you were 19, so you were a little late to the game anyway. But I can kind
uh,
of understand why you're still on the 19-year-old sex phase. You didn't jerk off until you were that age.
never gonna let that one go. That's fair
No,
enough.
I'm
Uh,
sorry, dude. You gave that to me. That's your own fault.
I told you that because you asked for material to roast you, and
Yeah, and
then
I
I
appreciate it.
asked you for material, and you had nothing. Even though I found out, like,
What can I say? I'm a great guy.
no, you're not. You have a lot of embarrassing shit. You can't even drive a car without crashing it into a pole.
I mean, you did that already. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
you
guess.
got me there. You got
I
me
guess.
there. I mean, for about for what well your best roast jokes against me were about how I'm pretty much just an irresponsible alcoholic. But
There's
regardless,
other shit too, but
yeah,
whatever.
let's
Uh,
get back to the topic at hand.
yeah, what we're talking about? Oh yeah, fucking young women. So
So we were talking about all the young women we're trying to fuck.
I listen, like, okay, so like last year,
You
right?
mean to tell me that Sandy was 17?
She was that no, like, okay, so like, is this creepy though? Last year I was 25 years old. I had sex with a girl who's 19. Like, is that creepy? I don't know.
No, I
Maybe.
don't think it's creepy. I'm just saying me personally, makes me uncomfortable. I like to hook up with girls who are like at least like 21. That's just like the way I feel.
I
Like
think
when
there is
I'm
a
on
certain age when you
to the
shouldn't be
point where
fucking.
I like have set my dating app age range to avoid younger than 21. Like that's just me personally. Like, I'm not saying like if you fucking ain't a 19 or 18-year-old, like it's legal. I don't think you're a bad person if they consented or whatever. Like it's not doesn't make you a bad person.
Means
I
I have
just think,
game.
first of all, you're 26. You're 26. Look, if you want to fuck a 2-year-old, I don't care as long as they can.
As long
as
as
long
you
as they
love
give
them,
you,
as long as
as long as they give you the little toddler thumb up, that's how you know.
oh, man. But I mean,
But
here's the thing.
all
I
right,
think there's a certain age where what were we saying?
because I was just gonna say the difference between you and Crystalia is you're 26. What is Crystalia like 37? Like how
40s.
old is that guy? Yeah, he's like in his 40s, and like if
He
you're in
looks
your 40s, like you definitely should. Like if you were 46, I would be like, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's weird. When they're
Yeah,
old enough to be your daughter, it just becomes really creepy. And I know that
yeah,
people say like there's still a stigma because yes, you can fall in love with somebody that's like young or whatever. Why age doesn't blah, blah, blah. But like I don't know, man. There is a certain age when you shouldn't be hitting on 19-year-olds. But my
yeah.
question to you before we did this podcast is like, what is that age? Like What is the
I
age?
think it really
Like,
depends. See, it makes me think of this rule in comedy, and this is related to it's sort of different, but it's similar. But my good friend Jeff Bosey, who's also a great comedian from Long Island,
not a
he
pedophile either.
not a pedophile as far as I know, although he does wear a fedora, so we'll have to see. But you know, he was telling me once about the 39 and a half rule, which is essentially this rule in comedy. It's kind of like an unspoken rule where if you pass the age like 39 and a half, anything you say on stage that relates to sex or sexuality or you being like attracted to people or a perv, it becomes creepy. Like it's not like it's like you shouldn't joke about it. It's just like when you get past that age, the audience looks at you in a different light. And when
Yeah,
you joke about sexual stuff, it doesn't look as like fun and careless and kind of cool or like on the edge anymore. It's kind of like, dude, this guy's like 43 and he's talking about like staring at girls' asses. Like, and to me, it's kind of like around there. Like when you get into your mid to late 30s, like I think if you're like 32 and a 22-year-old girl is trying to hook up with you, that's not a big deal. But if you're like 38 and you're trying to hook up with a 22-year-old girl, like I think it's not like a perfect line. I don't think there is one age. I think it's just kind of like there's sort of a range where you pass a range and you start to realize that you're too old for that shit.
I mean Anthony like the thing I used to listen to Opie and Anthony Cumia what did this bit where he was like he talked about how he brought an 18-year-old girl to his like 30-year high school reunion, and I actually talked about this when I met him because I thought it was a funny bit. And like but like it's looking back on it, it's like yeah, at a certain point, it just you know nobody. You never want to be that like creepy old guy at a bar, that or a party. That guy who's there who's like way too old, who's just like weirding everyone out. We used to have this guy in college. I used to be in a fraternity, and there was this guy who was like way too old.
Sorry.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, like we did like to do gay stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but we were there was this guy who was like a brother there who was like way too old to be hanging out with us, and it was just noticeable. And he used to just like scare people because it was just like, why is this old guy hanging out?
It's like
with
you and a
us?
bunch of the normal aged frat guys are trying to hit on a bunch of girls and it's going great. And then Mr. 32-year-old alumni stumbles over and he's like, "Hey, what are we talking about here? The Jets?" And you're like, "Oh,
32-year-old? No, try
how old?"
42-year-old.
Oh fuck, yeah, even worse.
Like,
Like this guy's just like, "Hey, what's going on, everybody? The party's over here now." And you're just like, "Oh,
it's like
please."
his daughter was like the age of the girls that he was talking to. It's like, fuck, man,
Oh,
what are you doing?
oh.
He's a
That's
nice
why
guy though. He was a cool dude, but like he used to just scare women away.
that's the thing. I think a lot of this, and this is partly what kind of fuels Chris D'Elia's fan base. Like, it's a lot of this sort of like frat guy hit on like it's this sort of frat dude mentality, just like get the hot bitch at all costs. It's like that sort of mental state where it's like these dudes are literally just like they're like sex hounds. They go to these parties and they're just ready to fuck somebody, and it's like, yeah, a lot of people go to parties thinking maybe I'll get laid, but these dudes are like out for it, and like they'll even
For the
like,
hunt.
yeah, they're like out for the hunt. And obviously, this is not to generalize all people in Greek life, but there's definitely certain fraternities that have had high school girls go to their parties, and they may not realize that they're not 18, but they're like, fuck it, they're drunk as shit.
Oh yeah.
She's hot. She's got big tits. I'll fuck. And then they go to jail one day and they're like, yeah, but, I thought she was 18. It was a college party. And it's like, yeah, but you're literally such a pervert that you went and fucked this girl without really like asking yourself, does she look like she's actually old enough?
Right.
That's
There are like fraternities like that. My fraternity that I was in was cool as fuck. Like everybody was awesome.
like
Way
mine
too
was cool. Mine was cool. All the other ones, no way.
Mine was way cooler. We were too cool to let Tom Crescenzo in. He pledged.
Yeah,
but
I
he-
would have. You would have
He
called me a
pledged,
G.
but he pledged, but he didn't make it through the whole process. No, but
I
there
will
were
admit.
douchebag fraternities. There was like this one fraternity named sci-fi gamma that we knew, and they got in trouble for shit like that. We used to card people at parties to make
That's
sure that
good.
they were old enough to get into and make sure they were college students. But like, yeah, some guys are just like perverts, and they would just go after any girl, whether no, even if they were too drunk to, and it's just like,
Oh yeah.
what are you fucking
Like
doing, man?
I remember one time I used to hang out with this frat dude, and he admittedly hung out with me because he thought I was gonna pledge, and I never did. But like, basically, like he was telling me about this girl because one time my roommate was pledging this frat, and he had this girl who he knew from high school who went to our college come over, and she was drunk as shit off moonshine, and she went to the party. And obviously, they were both hammered, so they both wound up passing out and having to be like taken home or whatever. But I was talking to this other frat dude about the situation. He's like, yeah, bro, she was fucked up as soon as she walked in. I was going to pass her to a pledge and just be like, have fun, bro.
Oh.
But it was too much. And it's like when he said that, I was actually sitting there like in shock. Like this kid had just passed me a blunt and I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? Like
they're talking about passing off another human being like it's a fucking object.
This girl walked in with her eyes like already basically rolling in the back of her head. She's been drinking moonshine all night. Your first instinct is, yeah, this one's perfect for the pledges. It's like, what kind of a sick, twisted...
Yeah, that's fucked up, man. And
like,
besides, you never waste a good drunk girl on the pledges.
I almost wanted to leave after that. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the worst part is like, come on, the pledges don't deserve pussy.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta take the W's when you can.
Of course.
You know who was also in a who was also in a fraternity was Manny and Tardo.
Yeah, no, and so was, I believe Mike Nicoli. I believe he was in Manny's frat. We have a bunch of frat boys.
They're in the same one.
Supposedly, but I mean, like, I've
like
only
comedy's just a fucking Greek life.
Oh my god, I can imagine.
That'd be fun if we go to an open mic and just wear our Greek letters to there.
That would be so weird. I would think you were all so lame if you did that. But I'm not. I admittedly have always been a GDI, and I like don't give a fuck about. But whatever.
What is that? What's a GDI?
Goddamn independent. It basically just I don't know because I went to I don't know what Malloy was like. I don't know what Malloy was like, but I went to like at UF. The Greek life was huge. Like the school basically gave the frat dudes like mansions to live in, and there was a lot of them. And these kids really were fucking rich. Like everyone says the frat kids are like rich, and it's like a stereotype, but like no, these dudes were loaded, like straight up just rich, spoiled, shitty white dudes.
Yeah,
and like. They were like gangs, dude. Like they could get away with so much shit, so much drugs passed through that. Like, and it's just like they never got caught. Meanwhile, the cops are literally kicking down the doors in the poor neighborhoods. Like,
yeah,
it was
it
really was.
That is fucked up. Like I didn't go to a fraternity in Malloy. I used to go to SUNY Oswego, and this was like this. I was actually a freshman when I pledged. I never had been into the idea of Greek life, and then I went to an open party. And I was hanging out at the fraternity I was in with Zeta Chi Zeta, and I was hanging out with a couple of brothers there, and I was just like, I was just talking to them, and they were just like regular people, like not like Greek bro dudes, and I was just like, I was never into the idea of it, and then they were like, why don't you just join our fraternity? I'm like, yeah, fuck it, so I did.
That's the thing. A lot of the people who I know who joined Greek life were very normal guys. But the other thing is a lot of those dudes started to not give a fuck about it later on because the thing is people forget about being in a frat is it's not just partying all the time. Like there's actually shit frats to do. Like there is work. Like there's like philanthropy and shit and like community service and whatever. And you have to go to meetings like every other like day. And it's like, and like the thing is like a lot of these kids who were into it at first, like they were so hyped, like failing all their classes just to join these frats. Then like 2 years later, I'd be like, yo, so how's Chi-Fi? They're like, bro, fuck Chi-Fi. It's like, whoa, okay. Like,
yeah. Well, they can't handle the fucking shit.
They
can't handle the fraternity life.
Regardless. We should bring this back to Crystalia.
Yeah, we should talk more about how much Crystalia sucks and how much we fucking hate him.
I just want to make
greasy hair. Why don't you
But
wash
yeah.
your hair, Crystalia? Why is it so greasy?
Yeah, you literally look like you have a fucking oily rag on your head, you disgusting neck-bearded fuck.
Yeah, he has a neck beard, dude, and
Yeah.
his fucking neck itself is all like gangly. He's a fucking weird. He's a
Dude, his
creepy looking guy. Like he looks
smile
like a pedophile.
his smile looks like a Chelsea grin. It looks like someone carved his face to make his smile wider. But regardless of how much I hate his, regardless of how much I hate him as a performer and hate his face, I will say this: like, I do not think that a man's career should be destroyed just because, like, they were, creeping on girls a little too much. Like, as long as they didn't like do anything to abuse anyone, like, yeah, it's shitty. They should apologize. I don't think your
Yeah.
career should be destroyed. But if he truly was hitting on underage girls and he knew he was doing it, then yeah, like it should probably be
Exactly.
destroyed.
I don't think his career should have been destroyed for that either. I think his career should be destroyed because he's not funny.
Because yeah, I just don't think. Like, I personally think it's unethical for Crystalia to have a career just because of his comedy. It's unethical. It's against moral code.
But also the thing is, like, yeah, his apology was very contradictory because he said, like, I did not do any of this stuff. But then in the second half, he said, like, I'm sorry that I did this stuff.
Well, yeah, because at first he was like, I have never knowingly tried to hook up with an underage girl. I've never done anything that I've been accused of by all these women. That being said, I did get caught up in my lifestyle. So, like, what are you saying? It's like, you're like, obviously, like, I would never creep on a young girl, but I totally was living a lifestyle that made me kind of seem like I might creep on a young girl.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
It was very much of like a. It was like a confession apology. See, I
Yeah.
hate that shit of like
He's like basically
just
saying like,
I hate the half-ass like, listen, if I did anything wrong, I don't know, man, I guess I'm sorry. Because what's his face also got in trouble for that too. James Franco, I remember, also like was
yeah.
texting a knowingly texting a 16-year-old girl trying to fuck her.
God.
And this was like years before the Me Too movement, but everyone was just like chalking up like, that's James. He's a quirky guy,
Yeah, it's just like, oh, that's Franco. He's nuts. It's
He's
like,
a wacky dude. He's an artist,
The truth is, we have to remember all these guys are from Hollywood. Like, Hollywood is still disgusting, regardless of the Me Too movement. Hollywood is just as decadent and miserable as it's always been. So,
I don't
like,
think
when
it's
you
just
really
Hollywood though. I don't think that's fair. I think it's the whole fucking world, man. Like,
well,
I
it's the
just
world,
think
but
I
I
just
think
think you
when
know
you're
more about it because we've heard of these people, and it's
But when
more like
when you become famous and you start getting like 10 grand for every fucking time you get walk on a stage, and you start like getting like Netflix is paying you like hundreds of thousands of dollars for a special, and you're being put in TV shows and movies, you kind of enter this sort of mental state where you're like, wow, this is it. I'm doing it. I'm a superstar. I can do whatever I want. And it's like, yeah, everyone says this. I know this is like kind of a moot point, but it's like, I can see how the lifestyle could lead someone to doing bad things. The problem is, that doesn't make those bad things excusable. Like, just because you got too used to partying doesn't mean you should have tried to hook up with a 10th grader. Like,
But also, there are plenty of like famous, successful people that haven't done bad shit, and there are plenty of like, and also, but even more so, you look at like authors and like artists throughout the history of time, and there are so many like famous artists that we read about in textbooks that were absolute perverts and like fucked underage girls. One of those, like, the Prophet Muhammad was a pedophile.
yes, as we remember from a couple of episodes back. Yes,
It was a
remember?
callback.
Yeah, little degenerate. Do we remember that crazy ass orgy he had with Jesus Christ and Moses? I mean, he was literally fucking it. Yeah, he was fucking him in the ass with a crucifix while fucking a 2-year-old behind his back.
But people worship that guy. People worship Muhammad, even though, and this is a fact, he did fuck an underage girl. You could look it up. It's true. Her name was Aisha, and she was an underage girl. She was like 9, and he was like 40.
And then, I mean, if we look over to your side of the spectrum, Jack, you guys might need to do a little work yourselves, because I don't really think it's okay for a rabbi to clean the blood off of a circumcised baby's penis with his mouth.
Oh yeah, no, I don't agree with that shit either. Why do you think like
Yeah.
what do you
You're
think?
like, why do you
like,
think I'm trying
gotcha
to get him?
question? You think
You're
you're
like,
gonna
why
be
do you
like,
think?
"Nah, gotcha." You fucking like what? Like I
No,
don't.
I'm just saying. But it's like I bet you're like, well, yeah. Why do you think I want them all on the trains headed to the camp? No, I'm kidding. But
No, I don't.
no,
I don't
but
think that's normal. That's fucking weird.
of
I
course,
went.
yeah. And I think religion is another like area where people can get away with nefarious behaviors because
Look
of
at all those
tradition.
priests that were molesting kids.
Oh well, I mean, dude. I mean, at this point, the
It still
priests are just
happens.
like. I think priests are just like, yeah, we fuck kids. So what?
Yeah,
Like
I
these
mean,
days, it's like in the early 2000s when it was first a big thing, they were just kind of like, no, like we never, like, come on, we don't do that. And now they're just like, we might be like fucking your kids. I mean, if you want to let him be an altar boy, that's on you, but we might fuck him.
do you ever watch the movie Spotlight?
No, but I heard it's very good.
That
I've
movie
heard it's very
is phenomenal movie. I recommend that to everybody. It has like Michael Keaton, Mark Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams. Anyway, it was a true story. They played these writers of the Boston Globe in the early 2000s who uncovered the whole Catholic priest molestation stuff, and it's so fucked up how they just show it. They have like it shows at the beginning of the movie, it just shows like this woman who's like really fraught, and she's like talking to the head priest, and they're at a police station. He's like, listen, like this priest, he's going to be moved to another parish, and this will never happen ever again. And he just gives her a big wad of cash, and they just leave. And it's just like, that's what they would do. Not that these priests would go to jail. They would just get moved to another parish. That's like we've been talking in the last few episodes about all the cops that are legally allowed to get away with murder. These priests are legally allowed to get away with molesting kids.
literally
Just like
because
that's
that's the stranglehold that the Christian religion has on American society. And that's part like I don't believe in it for a lot of reasons, but that's partially why I don't believe in it. Is if it were true, the leaders would not be so evil as to let themselves like literally letting each other get away with basically satanic crimes. Like if you're a religious official, I do not understand how you don't see molesting children as satanic. But regardless, I do personally think that whether or not Chris D'Elia is guilty, he should go to hell and burn.
Yeah,
Should
forever.
burn in
And
hell.
the thing is like something that annoyed me. This annoys me about everything. Is like as soon as this happened, I was just like, I don't want. You know how like I hate Twitter because every
Twatter.
every person is like, I gotta fucking have my little 86 character joke about Chris D'Elia, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. None of you guys are funny. And it's just like, as
feel-
soon as any scandal or any news thing happens,
I
everybody.
feel personally attacked.
I'm sorry. I know you have a Twitter. I know you have a Twitter. I had a Twitter. I will never have a Twitter again. It's fucking awful.
I mean, eventually this podcast is going to need its own Twitter. I mean, it's a necessary social media platform.
Ugh. Will it though? Will it?
You're like, I don't wanna.
I hate Twitter.
Look,
Yeah.
the whole Twitter thing is toxic. I will give Twitter credit for some things. Like, I think Twitter is a large part of the reason that the George Floyd thing went viral because I did not see it on the news. I did not see it on Instagram. I did not see it on Facebook. I didn't even see an article about it on like my Google homepage, but I saw it on Twitter. That's how I found out about it. So you have to give Twitter credit for spreading awareness about things. And like, it's good.
It
that
just brings
call
people
it
to like
out.
these. Yeah,
It
but
does,
it just divides people into these
If
very
you have-
binary,
you have-
like
you have
political
too many-
groups.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. Is like too many people on Twitter is like when they see those stories, those horrible tragedies that get shared, their knee-jerk reaction is, well, this is Twitter. I gotta say something fucked up and ironic, but still kind of right.
Yeah, I gotta say something that's like coated in 10 layers of irony. It's all my woke douchebag New York City friends could all like share it. We could all have a circle jerk, and hopefully another fucking plane crashes into your building. Just to kill you.
God. Fuck. Damn, Jack. Why you mad though?
I'm just fucking around. No, I think that
Jack's just like, I don't think you're a bad person if you use Twitter, but you should totally hang yourself.
I don't like. I don't know. I
You
don't like
feel the
Twitter.
same way. You feel the way, like the way I feel about pedophiles is how you feel about people on Twitter.
Says they should all kill themselves. I
Beyond
just don't
safe.
think anyone's funny on Twitter. That's the thing. I don't think anybody is funny, and none of the jokes about Crystalia on Twitter. You're not funny on Twitter. Like,
Fuck
no
you.
offense, but
I
you're not.
actually,
You
I've
can't be.
tried a lot of.
It's not you personally. I just don't think you can. Anybody can be funny on Twitter. I think.
Well, what
Yeah, I
about?
think
I
you're
mean,
funny in real life.
I've seen like I have done tweeted stuff that's been received well, and then done it on stage and had it work as a joke. So I personally
I love
think
how you're
that
just getting so
Twitter.
defensive of this.
Yeah, all right. My Twitter is gold. No, I know my Twitter is trash. Everyone's Twitter is trash. It truly is an empty void that you get sucked into, and it rips your soul out of your heart, and then it force feeds it to you through your dick. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, come on, man, just have
All right, no,
fun,
I'm
bro.
kidding. I'll let you have your phone. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be the old man in the fucking.
Dad, why do you have to be so lame about this?
I don't want to be a
Dad,
dinosaur.
you just don't get it, Dad.
You don't get Twitter.
You don't get why Crystalia is allowed to fuck underage girls, Dad.
But
Loser.
but he makes voices on stage and he sounds like drunk girls and I
Yeah,
feel
it's like,
bad
yeah,
for his friends
he
though.
knows how he understands women. Have you ever heard of his drunk girl impression?
I mean, you know who I feel bad for though? Are like his friends like Joe Rogan. Like what the fuck is he gonna say about this?
Well, I mean, because at this point, Rogan's in a position where, first of all, he himself has already been accused of being a white supremacist, which is bullshit. But regardless,
obviously,
he's already been accused of pandering to the alt right. He has, Ari Shafir's his boy, and he had that whole fucking thing with Kobe that kind of like bit them in the ass, and now it's like
we all
this.
know Kobe Bryant was a saint that should never be questioned.
Well,
Come
yeah,
on,
I mean, I
bullshit.
pray to Kobe Bryant every night. If he were alive, I would suck his dick right now. No, I'm kidding. But
That whole
I
thing
actually,
that whole thing was bullshit.
I mean,
With
I
Ari
agree. I was
Shaffir.
honestly I totally I was not surprised that he got in trouble for it, but I think it is bullshit. I mean, what Crystalia is being accused of is worse than what Ari Shafir did, and I feel like people were more mad at Ari.
Yeah,
But doesn't it seem
it's
that
like
way?
he's accused of being a pedophile. That's way worse than like making some shitty jokes. Like I saw the Ari Shafir shit. I'm like, dude, that's fucked up. The guy just died. Like, just give it a little bit.
I
I
mean, I
get
also
it.
just thought it wasn't that fun. Like the tweet he did
Yeah.
was not funny. Like it just didn't make me laugh. I was just like, I read it and I was like, Jesus. Like I was like, wow, Ari. But
Well, I
like,
think he was
I
trying. I get it. You're
I
trying
also
too
knew.
hard to be like shocking and kind of like
Well,
out
he has
there.
this thing. He has this whole thing that he does where every time a famous person dies, he just tweets something horrible about them. Like when Aretha Franklin died, that tweet was even worse. Like he's been doing this, so I wasn't surprised that he did it because I've always been a fan of Ari Shafir. But like, yeah, it didn't make me laugh. I was just like, shit, dude.
It's
Like,
just hacky. It's just like it's like oh, I gotta try so hard to be edgy, so I have to
yeah,
comment immediately on this guy's death. It's just kind of like whatever. I just feel
yeah,
like if you're close friends with this dude, imagine finding out that like Manny Cruz is a pedophile. Like imagine finding out that
yeah.
Manny Cruz
I mean,
is a
you mean
pedophile.
what do you mean finding out? This is not news to me. No, I'm
But like
kidding, Manny. Kidding.
we're just kidding. But like,
We're
what do
just
you
joshing here.
what do you do? Like, how do you fucking like?
I mean,
What do you say?
truthfully,
I saw Brendan Schaub had his podcast with Brian Callen. He was straight up crying. He was like, "I feel like somebody died. Like, what do I?"
well, I mean, it's really hard because it's like you meet someone, and this is the truth. It's like they say you think you know a guy, but it's true. Like you meet people,
Really
and
think you know a guy.
but like you and I are super close friends. But I can imagine like the relationship between Crystalia and other comedians. Like, yeah, they're close, but they all have their own lives. Like they don't see each other as much. They can kind of just assume that they're good people based on the interactions they have with each other, and that's all you
Yeah.
have to go by. So when that gets taken away, when you find out that they did something bad, yeah, it's painful. It's like a really painful experience. But I know people who've had worse. Like I have a really good friend who like his biological father like molested his sister. Like how do you deal with that? Like, that's your dad. Like, how do you even like it's horrifying. Like,
I mean, I had
I
a
think
friend. Yeah.
well, we'll talk about your friend in a minute, Jack.
Hey, good. As long as we
But
talk about me.
but no, but I think it's just what's so painful about it is you've lived the whole time you've known this person, they've just been great to you. You invite them over because you like them and you like hanging out with them because you convince yourself that they're a great guy and you enjoy their company. Then you hear this news about them trying to hit on underage girls, and it's like, what happened to this guy who's been like the best dude who I've known for so long? Like, that guy, as far as I know, that guy would never do that, but now I'm hearing this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes you second guess it, and it's also just like it's just like I mean, it would be worse if there was people that you're really close to and you find this out and it's just like, what the fuck. I mean, I found out one of my best friends from high school, I found out he was like a complete sociopath, and like I'm not friends with him anymore, but it made me not for a while like not be able to trust anyone, and like
Yeah, it
not
kind
be
of
able. It really
right.
like fucks with your whole view of people in general, you know.
Of course, because when you hear about these things, it just kind of takes your whole perspective and flips it. Suddenly, it feels like everything you know is like a lie, and it just kind of like
Yeah.
it's hard. And I can imagine like not like when you're famous, it's probably even harder to like. How do you explain that to your fan base who's waiting for a valid explanation? Like, you have to get now. Like you're just trying to process this yourself. Now someone's sticking a microphone in your face. What are you supposed to? You're like It's so easy to slip up and be like, yeah, but they were still like 17, and then it's like, wait, what the fuck are you saying, Brendan? Like, no, no, no.
Well, I
It's
mean, one
it's
thing that I don't understand, and like, see, this is the thing, is like, I never understand why people choose to out people at a certain time. And see, this is why I love talking like with you about this stuff. Because if I was talking to some like really ultra woke person, they'd be like, they don't have to wait anytime, you fucking male chauvinist pig. It's up to
yeah.
them whether. I'm like, okay,
You're
Jesus.
lucky. You are lucky that I hate women. It's making this conversation a lot easier now.
Exactly. No, but you know
We're
and they
kidding.
would jump down my throat. And I'm like, Jesus, dude, I'm just asking the question. Like, what, like with those girls, like what was going through their head? Like today, it was like, today is the day, I don't like why,
I mean,
I
I
don't
feel
get
like
it.
with one of the stories I heard, because it depends on who you're talking about. Like with Crystalia, it kind of is like, yeah, the Me Too move. Like, even if you were waiting before the Me Too movement, it's like the Me Too movement happened. Like, yeah, like it was right there. You should have just thrown him in the fucking pit if you could have. But obviously, I'm not trying to victim blame. Like, it's up to anybody to decide when they want to come out about that. But like, I think if
I'm not
there's
right.
some
That's just
instances, like
random.
what, for example, with what's his name, fucking Danny Masterson, who is actually being charged with rape. Like, some of the stories from
Oh
those
yeah.
girls were saying like, we tried to report it, and then like apparently he's in the Church of Scientology, I guess. Like, people from the Church of Scientology supposedly like allegedly started stalking these girls and sending her like death threats and like violent messages telling them to like leave them alone, and like coming to their house and like spying on them. And like, see, when it gets to that point, it's like it's terrifying, because it's like everyone's like, why didn't you say anything like 10 years ago? And you're like, well, 10 years ago, I thought if I said anything, I would be dead. And it's like, oh, come on. And it's like, that type of shit could happen.
Yeah, no.
People who do these things, who actually commit these horrible acts, like, the last thing they want is even the chance of getting caught. And in a lot of times, they will go over the limit to prevent these accusations from getting out.
Well, also
And
like
like,
people
I'm
that
not saying Chris D'Elia did that, but I mean, Danny Masterson did it. But supposedly, we'll see if he's proven guilty. But
but also like people that do that, like girls that go and report people like that. What happens? I get it, because they're like, do I really want like my whole life to now be defined as that woman who fucking accuses, you know what I mean? And it's like
yeah, that's it.
they don't want the attention. It probably is a fucking headache, and it's just like that girl who was raped by Brock Turner. Remember that swimmer guy? She wrote a book, and like somebody told me to read it, but I'm like, I don't know how to read. And then it was all about how.
You like reading? What do you mean by that?
How do you do that? But so like but I don't know, man. I feel like that girl. Apparently, a lot of the. I'm getting all little and half in the bag here.
You're getting a little horny. Sounds like I'm getting a little horny talking about this. Give me a second.
That girl that was raped by Brock Turner. She doesn't want her whole life to be defined as that girl that was raped by Brock Turner. She's a girl. She didn't do anything wrong. She wants to like move on with her life.
And I will say this
unfortunately, like a lot of people will look at like not know her as anything else other than that was the woman that was raped by Brock Turner.
Well, I mean, I will say this though, like if Brock Turner were a famous celebrity, it would be even harder for her not to be defined by it. That's the thing, is like when you accuse a famous person, you know, like you're setting yourself up to not be believed by like half the population. Like I think that's what people forget is like you're like, why didn't you just accuse him right away? It's like, well, because I knew a lot of you would probably not believe me, and then you would shit on me and like start sending me threats and shit. Like
just ruined my life.
It's not as easy as just like, oh, let me just come out and like, yeah, like he raped me and everyone believes me and like that he's actually going to jail because he deserves. It's usually like he raped me and people are like, no, he didn't, and then they're like, how long ago was it? Are you sure you're not just trying to make money? And it's like, yeah, I get it.
Well, look at Monica Lewinsky. I mean, she was suicidal because of because her life became a punchline. Like Monica Lewinsky giving a blowjob, her whole life basically became a joke, and her name just became synonymous with sucking dick. And imagine having that happen to you in your early 20s. Like that's gotta suck. No pun intended. And like the fact that your whole life. Little cute joke, but your whole life now has to be defined by this. It's like you didn't do anything wrong. You were just like some predatory dude was like trying to fuck you, and now you have to deal with their bullshit. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton just gets to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he just gets to keep being this really old, delirious looking fuck, and no one cares. Like,
yeah, with his fucking
stumbling. I remember when he's like stumbling around after the debates with like the balloons are floating around. He's like, yeah, balloons.
Oh yeah, and that's one thing I should know. As much as as much as I hate the Trumps, I also hate the Clintons.
I mean, yeah, we don't even need
themselves.
We don't
Except
even
for
need
the
to.
daughter. She seems fine. What's her name? Chelsea. She didn't do anything wrong. She's all right.
I mean, she just looks like she's terrible at blowjobs, which sucks for the Clinton family.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It sucks for Bill.
I don't know. Either way,
Fuck
I'll just say, yeah, if we're gonna wrap this up about Crystalia, I'll just say, like, I hope that, like if the accusations are true, I hope he gets what he deserves. I don't know if it necessarily means jail time, but like whatever has to happen
Probably
should
not.
happen if he really, yeah, probably not because he didn't. I don't think he actually had.
I don't
sex
think
with
that's a
her underage
jailable offense. I don't know. I'm not
It's
a
not.
lawyer, but I don't think that you can go to jail for that. I don't know.
I look at it this way, like there's been incidences in my high school where like gym teachers have messaged high school girls on like social media and they get fired. They don't go to jail. They get fired, right? But it's like, it's not really like, you know, if you didn't actually like try to pursue it, like it's not really a jailable offense. Regardless, even if he's innocent,
Yeah.
I personally would like Crystalia's career to end forever because he sucks.
I think he's terrible comedian. One of the worst, if not the worst. He is like just absolute garbage as a comic.
Like the only comedian I would like rather watch, like I would rather watch him over is like Hannah Gadsby. That's how bad he is.
Yeah,
it's like
I was just about to say, like
he's at the bottom
I
of the
don't know.
comedy barrel, and then you have the not comedy like Hannah Gadsby. That's how bad he
Hannah
is. Like,
Gadsby's not a comedian. She's not a comedian. But Crystalia, I will say, yeah, Crystalia's never cried on stage like Hannah Gadsby is. And never
I mean, yeah,
tried to make me feel guilty for
say what you want.
wanting to watch
Crystalia actually tried to make people laugh.
Yeah, and he didn't try to make people feel guilty for wanting to watch a comedian make them laugh. But
regardless,
that's a whole other can of worms for another day.
Yeah. regardless, we probably have to wrap this up soon, but I did want to say it's been good this past week because in phase 2 of reopening, I won't say where and I won't say who the host was, but I got to do another open mic, and it's good to be back. You know, I want to, because as much as the comedy world might seem depressing right now, like it's the signs of it coming back are starting to appear, so that's at least a positive.
How did you do?
I mean, we all basically sucked. We're rusty as fuck. It's been like I've been working on these jokes for like 3 months, and I'm thinking like, oh, I'm so ready to do them. Like they're gonna kill, and then it was just like, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I have to learn how to walk again.
That's always a letdown. That's nice
Yeah.
when it's like a nice realization. That's what I love about comedy. It keeps you humble because you have these jokes and like these jokes are amazing, and then you go on stage and they get like mild, if anything.
Yeah.
And
Like
then
I had one.
you're just
I
like,
had one.
all right, well,
I had one idea
try
that
my best.
I had one idea that I thought was gonna be so funny. Like I thought of it while I was high as fuck. And because I was just like, what's the first thing I should say back on stage after 90 days? So I just got up there. I thought it was gonna slap, and basically I was just like, the N-word. I'm only saying that because I was having trouble thinking of what the first thing I should say when I get back on stage after 90 days is.
See, it would have been funnier if
Like-
you actually said the N-word itself.
Yeah. I mean, that would have at least gotten more people's attention. But
It probably not as much
I thought,
laughs. It probably would
I
have been
thought-
like, you gotta leave and not come back now.
yeah, people be like, dude, what the fuck? Like now of all times, man.
I haven't seen you in 3 months, and like this is what you're fucking like.
But like, I regardless, I thought people would be like, ah, that's so clever. He said the first thing he said back on stage is the N-word, but it's not really the N-word. It's the other N-word. But people just kind of looked at me like, what the fuck? And then I was just like, moving on. Good to be back,
You had
everybody.
3 months to think about this shit. That's what you came up with, really? Like,
Facts.
yeah, I wish I could have went there. I couldn't for undisclosed reasons, but soon enough I'll be out of the quarantine myself, and I will be joining you again at the open mic at
See.
whatever it's called. I guess we're not saying the name for some
Yeah,
reason.
I'd rather. I don't know. You never know
All right,
because
fuck it, whatever.
I just think it's still with the lockdown. Like I don't know how it's how what the sketch level of like doing comedy is still.
All right. Well, I think in terms of my last regards, I will just say that I don't know. I guess we've already said it all. See you guys next week, and fuck Crystalia.
Fuck Crystalia, he
That's it.
sucks balls. Next week, I don't know. Do we have any ideas for next week already that we want to preview? Probably not.
I don't know. What's on your notebook though? We wrote some shit down.
Yeah, we wrote shit, but we covered most of it. All right, we'll figure it out. Thank you all for listening to a
figure it
podcast,
out.
Orange. Yep, we will figure it out.
The one thing I say is it's funny that we had last week, we had a fake celebrity scandal game, and now a real celebrity scandal happened.
Yeah, right. I'm almost disappointed in ourselves that we didn't think of Crystalia trying to message underage girls because that one makes honestly, I said Jimmy Fallon doing blackface makes perfect sense, but this one actually kind of makes perfect sense.
That one makes more sense than anything else. But
like,
also, we
like
would have had to.
Crystalia, if you would have put him in a lineup of people who looked like a pedophile and he was standing next to like Michael Jackson and like another known pedophile, I would choose him twice. Like
Michael Jackson would be like, this guy, he looks kind of creepy.
ew, he tries to hook up with underage girls. That's ignorant. It's the little boys you want.
Little boys, you need the little boys.
It's ignorant. You want to hook up with little boys, Crystalia. You can't hit on underage girls. They're too innocent.
Jamon.
Jamon. All right. We had fun, everybody. Thank you all for listening.
Bye.
Have a great night.